Breaking news coming out of the Toronto Maple Leafs this morning. Craig Berube says that Oliver Ekman-Larsson is day-to-day and will not play against the Montreal Canadiens on Saturday night. Now, this kind of comes out of nowhere. We also found out just before that Jake McCabe will also not play against the Canadiens on Saturday night, so he remains out, which means you're down to 5 defensemen. And this is important because you're going to have to play with 5 defensemen against the Montreal Canadiens. The Toronto Maple Leafs currently have no room to bring anyone up to fill in any positions, to slot in and bring in extra forward and have somebody go down and play D, Mitch Marner, Calle Jarnkrok. They just cannot do it because they are out of cap room right now. You can't bring anyone off of IR. Can't bring anyone off of LTIR. You can't call anybody up. And most importantly here, you cannot emergency recall a player for tomorrow night's game. Now, here is why. According to Article 50.1, you cannot call up a player on an emergency recall basis unless you play shorthanded for one game, at least one game. So, likely the Toronto Maple Leafs, unless somehow out of nowhere OEL is ready to go Sunday against Carolina or McCabe's ready to go Sunday against Carolina, the Toronto Maple Leafs will use that emergency recall for Sunday's game, but they are not able to do so for Saturday night against the Montreal Canadiens. I'll just give some quick thoughts. That's the ruling. That's why they can't play with or bring somebody up from the minors. That's why they can't activate anybody. You're out of salary cap room right now. You cannot financially fit it in. And, I mean, yes, you have an active roster spot available to bring somebody up, but you cannot do so because of the cap. The only way you could is with an emergency recall. And, well, you can't use it because you're not eligible for it. So that's why you're not going to do so on Saturday. Now, just quick thoughts on this because, I mean, basically the most important thing in all of it is that, or the biggest news is that OEL is going to be out and day-to-day. My initial reaction is this sucks. The Habs and the Sens play here tonight. So Montreal will be rolling in off a back-to-back on the Saturday night that they play you in Toronto. But for Toronto, you are trying right now to stay ahead of the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Atlantic Division and finding out that not only are you going to have to play shorthanded, but you're going to remain without Jake McCabe, without Oliver Ekman-Larsson here now in this game. It's a tough bounce. It's tough news to find out ahead of this game. There is a very, very good chance that this game means a lot for both teams. So Tampa continuing to play the way that they are, to add points. They got another point against you the other night on Wednesday, going to overtime against you there. So they just continue to stay in the hunt. They're sniffing around. They're following you up. You want to finish first in the Atlantic. It's no disrespect to Ottawa. It's not saying that Ottawa's an easy opponent or just a cakewalk to get through the first round, but the whole point of it is we found out firsthand on Tuesday night how hard it is to beat the Florida Panthers and how hard it will be through a 7-game series. And even if you walk away from that one, you might come out on the other one bruised and battered, as we now see with Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who comes back from this Florida trip and isn't able to play on Saturday night against Montreal. So it's unfortunate, and it sucks from that standpoint that you're going to be shorthanded defensemen. You're going to have to play Simon Benoit, Philippe Myers a lot more minutes in probably some tougher matchups. And on the other hand, you're also going to have to rely on Morgan Rielly a lot more here now. This is a guy who has not played that well this season. And I mean, look at that Florida trip. Tuesday, Wednesday, there were some really rough moments for the guy in each one of those where you sit there and go, this is scary for the playoffs. This is concerning to see he's still making these mistakes, still having these plays, all that kind of stuff still happening. And knowing going into the game on Saturday night with a lot of pressure on you to continue to get points, win the game, and against a Montreal team who's coming in real hot here and could potentially be having the debut of Ivan Demidov there on Saturday night. That is a concerning thing if you are a Leaf fan. You want these points. You want these wins. And you want to defeat the Montreal Canadiens on home ice going into the playoffs. These are all things you want to do. And playing shorthanded defensively definitely makes it a little bit harder. And missing 2 pretty important defensemen there as well in Ekman-Larsson and Jake McCabe. I mean, looking at how things shook out before, right? Jake McCabe goes out. Now it's Oliver Ekman-Larsson who plays in your top 4, who plays on the left side with Chris Tanev, and looked pretty good doing so. he goes out of your lineup, it's going to be Benoit, it's going to be Myers who are going to be having to replace that. Like, as things start to fall into place elsewhere in your lineup, when you look at the fact you have 5D, it becomes concerning. The other side of this, to kind of wrap this video up and wrap up the breaking news here today, just to kind of point out, is it is a positive to know that these guys are not going to be forced through the final 4 games with injuries. Yes, it's important to finish first in the Atlantic. Yes, it's important to get these points and win these games and not let the Lightning catch you. These are all important things. But if Ekman-Larsson was going to go into this game at 80% and he could take the weekend off, and by Monday he's at 85%, by Tuesday he's at 90%, hypothetically, just making up numbers here, you'd rather that. You'd rather McCabe and Ekman-Larsson be healthy going into playoffs. David Kampf be a healthy option going into playoffs. If these guys have nagging injuries, if these guys have things that are bothering them or just could get worse by playing in a tough physical matchup, whoever it may be against, just hold them out. There's no point of forcing them into games, into matchups, into minutes that they do not need to be playing ahead of the playoffs. So I'm glad that he can at least sit out and get healthy. It sucks that you're going to play with 5D on Saturday night, but that's the only game you should have to do that with. If him and McCabe remain out on Sunday, you can call up on an emergency basis from the Marlies there. Likely, I would assume they probably call up Marshall Rafai, but yet to be seen. So that is your breaking news. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is out. Jake McCabe remains out. The Maple Leafs will have to play with 5 defense on Saturday night. And then Sunday, they could call somebody up on emergency recall. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel, Leaf Station 401, right here on YouTube if you did enjoy the content. Thank you all for watching. Keep believing. More content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take, Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos. Make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, and drop a like.